hot button issues out there is what's broadly referred to as critical race theory. And state law already bans it through budget provisos in terms of the concept, but it's still very hotly debated. How do you define critical race theory, or CRT? Is it a problem in our schools? And or are you concerned that the debate itself will stifle what kids need to learn in history?
Yeah, again, I think this is one of those issues that is not an actual problem. I tell people it's chasing ghosts. We're chasing issues that don't exist in order to, sort of hide the actual issues that we're dealing with. Critical race theory, the actual theory, looks through how our country has developed through, the lens of keeping minorities down. That is not what is in any of the state standards that our teachers teach, K through 12. Our teachers, focus on teaching our state standards, which are approved ultimately by the Education Oversight Committee and are open to public forum for comment. So if we're talking about what is in the best interest of our students need to be taught all of history. They need to be taught all of the perspectives. Again, going back to preparing our students for a life that exists out of K through 12, we need to make sure that they have all of the information and all of the truths, regardless of how that comes off. And that way they can then think critically and make sure that they have all of the information. Again, learning in a safe space, which is a teacher's classroom, gives students the opportunity to ask questions, to be curious, and to make those decisions. But we have to be willing to give that comprehensive education.
Ms. Weaver.
Going back real quick just to address the school choice, we do have school choice for families in this state who have the economic means, such as my opponent's parents did, to send her to one of the most exclusive private schools in the state, or you could move into a great neighborhood that has a wonderful public school in it. But unfortunately, that's not the reality of the vast majority of people in this state. And so I feel like it's a little out of touch to say we have school choice when only certain people in our state have school choice. Secondly, about the issue of CRT. CRT really has become a catch-all term for a much larger woke ideology that we have seen in our colleges of higher education for decades, and so we certainly now see it seeping down into K-12 schools. There are multiple examples that I have heard from both parents and teachers in this state about it being in the classroom and about it being in the professional development that is being forced on our teachers. And so when I talk about standing up against woke ideology in our public schools and using our schools for education, not indoctrination, I'm bent on on standing up for our teachers, not just for our students, because I think the vast majority of teachers in this state want to truly educate their children in the way their children need to be educated. I do think that there is a very pernicious ideology that's out there in works like Kimberly Crenshaw and Ibram X. Kendi, who claim that the only way that we can fight racism is by being racist. I just think that's fundamentally wrong. I think any ideology that determines a child's value or whether they are an oppressor or a victim by the color of their skin, as Senator Tim Scott has said, is just simply wrong. We've got to bring people together, not pull them further apart.
Lisa, did you want to respond to that?
Yeah, again, I have had the opportunity of traveling the state and talking to teachers and students for that matter. And whenever this question is brought up, I say, I would like to know the specific examples, and nobody can give them to me. Again, it is, that rhetoric that is coming out without people actually knowing and being able to give specific examples of what that looks like. I think that we have to understand that history, when you look at it whole hog from all perspectives, there are ugly parts to it, but we have to understand those parts of it to be able to understand why we are in the situations that we're in these current times. If you don't teach students all of the perspectives, then you're not giving them a fair shot in how to navigate, again, the world that that exists for them. And we have to do right by our students by teaching them all of it.